Hi, Bryce.
Oops, oops, oops.
Hi, Ann.
Week 3. I was like, hey, everybody. I'm just gonna put that. So do they, in order for this, do they always have to have home? I'm just curious. Okay, so sometimes they,
I remember to ask you a question after the meeting.
I'll write it down. Question.
I thought about writing it down myself, that's the reason I mentioned it. I'll forget.
Oh, yeah. I can remember
Up here somewhere? Okay, am I gonna be the only one joining the table?
Come on.
Is Caleb here?
You're the only one who ever in Congress.
I love you guys. I will, okay. Excuse me, Howard. Heather's not gonna be here?
Phew. And the BB for the meeting.
It's a little warm.
We'll go ahead and get started. For the April 10th joint public hearing of the Lake County Planning Commission. I'm sitting in for Heather today, so I'll go ahead and call it to order. We'll roll call planning commission members. Heather's out. Howard Tritz.
Here.
Abby Delman present. Joey Edwards.
Here.
Lupe Bobadilla. He's out, isn't he? He's out. And then Jamie Cipher is out also. Okay. And then Lake County Commissioners, Sarah Mudge here, Kayla Marcella, and Jeff Fiedler.
Here.
Any changes or additions to the agenda for this evening? We'll move on to approval of the minutes. Looking back at attendance, we're gonna go ahead and table the February 27th and March 13th approvals. I have a motion for the 27th of March.
Make a motion that we approve the March 27th minutes.
All right, all in favor?
Alright.
Aye. Great. Any updates from staff?
A few. We have our newest member of staff, Cece Williams, is joining us. You probably got an email. Super excited to have her as our planning assistant. And she's going to take over from Marla of doing minutes and helping with meetings. So you'll start hearing more and more from Cece on our team. So we're super excited to have her as our team grows. Just wanted to give everyone an update that staff has been invited to the community engagement meeting on the 13th at Freight. This is a group of residents that have some concerns about the Leadville 7 proposal potentially for a major subdivision, and they are have decided it would be have value and benefit to the group for staff to do a presentation just on kind of the entitlement process at the county level. So we will be joining the presenters at that evening on the 13th. There is a housing survey that I just became aware of today that the Summit County has, the city of Leadville has it on their website. We'll be adding it to our website, but just trying to, we'll be getting a little more information of the purpose and outcome of what that data is going to do. I do think Summit County is looking to see what kind of impact securing housing is in the area. And so we'll be wanting to get more information and really see if there's a way to collaborate on that data when it comes forward. So we'll be doing that. We do have several upcoming applications. Talked today on a pre-app for a PUD without subdivision. And we have several CUPs in the works. So I do think things are going to kind of start amping up a bit. We do have 2 code amendments that we have talked about previously, and I will be reaching out just with an email follow-up if everyone is in agreement for staff to move forward. Specifically, they are making the backcountry site plan administrative. So tonight will be a good kind of exercise in seeing what that process is like. This is only our 2nd application on backcountry site plan review, but with the added capacity that the department has, it looks much different than it did when we adopted this code. So now I think that there's been a suggestion that we could do those administrative and versus having a public hearing process associated with it. So if I will send out something just to confirm that we have support to move that code amendment forward. The other is that we talked about making accessory dwelling units a administrative review as well. Just making sure that an administrative or application seeking an accessory dwelling unit meet all of the standards associated in the code and not requiring a public hearing on accessory dwelling units. So we'll just follow up. We wanted to elevate those to some things that we thought that we could accomplish while we just have a slight lull in the action, which again, I'll emphasize slight, but that we could go ahead and get those codified because we talked about those several times. STRs are continuing to move forward. Look for some big things happening in those in the next 30 days. And then OHV regulations and moratorium. The board has executed the ordinance on OHV at this point in the scope of work. There's more work to be done. There will be a town hall meeting on that opportunity as well to talk about the balance of motorized and non-motorized recreational use on county roads. And so we'll be elevating those opportunities to everyone as soon as we put those together. And I think that's all the updates that staff has. Lots of things happening, coming up.
I guess I'm just curious, does the planning commission have any formal role or part in the short-term rental?
Absolutely. Formal as in, I think that the outcomes of the scope of work might end up being a recommendation for code amendment. And so that will be an active participation. But I do think as staff will, right now we're still in that compliance piece. And as we broaden our scope of work, I do see us coming back, staff, to both planning commission and the board to just make sure that we're doing those check-ins. And if there's any additional information or work that you think should be included in the scope, we'll be doing those check-ins. So we just did a Gantt chart for OHV, and I would say in the next couple of weeks, we'll be doing the same and presenting that during a joint work session to get input and report back on where we're at. And then I definitely think participation, I also would welcome that when we do the town hall meeting too, that the planning commission really help engage with public outreach.
Can I make a comment on that meeting, the public meeting at Freight? I really appreciate you doing that. I think it's great that you got invited. And yeah, just help people understand sort of what can and can't be achieved within the existing planning commission and sort of the OCC process. And yeah, like sorry, way to say this. I think that while it's definitely interesting to explore the community benefit agreement, I think that's what CBA stands for. Like, I think it seems like people have to like prejudge that has to happen. And I don't know, I keep sort of, I hope that people can understand what can be achieved within the existing sort of criteria and process and aren't sort of like prejudging that you have to layer on this other formal step that whatever the community, you know, talks about and things it wants to ask of the developer, you know, can and should also be asked, you know, within the existing process. So anyway,
Yeah.
Step off my soapbox.
No, I think that's great, and so staff will definitely, in addition to doing a presentation, just about the process, we're also going to provide a handout and really encourage those voices in the public hearing process, and really go over what the development review looks at. There's a concern, I think, immediately over some identified impacts, and so we'll really share that those are shared concerns and things that the county review process will take a look at. I think the other update on that is the developer is having a conversation with the city about potential annexation. So still just very much a conversation with planning staff at the city. And if I do think that they're looking for an opportunity to get on the agenda with city council to maybe have that discussion of, you know, potentially that might be an outcome. But at this point, we don't really have any information on, you know, if that's gonna progress, so.
And just to clarify, there's no conflict with going to that meeting for us.
So I would just, I think Chris is on here, so I'm gonna defer to Chris's judgment on that. And I will just mention that part of my presentation to the, that evening is just going to communicate to the community members in the room that if a member of the recommendation board, recommending body, such as, I think that's more appropriate, the planning commission or a member of the board of county commissioners is not there that evening, it's not because they have a disinterest. They are just making the personal decision to not risk ex parte communication or a bias, but they are very interested in the outcomes of that. And so staff is the conduit to bring that information back that we gain on the 13th. So we will be explaining very briefly about ex parte, and then Chris, if you want to expand on that, but I am going to just explain to the room the you know, why some members may not be there.
Yeah, and that's right on point, Ann. And that's, you know, some of the information I've provided to the commissioners and such is to, you know, that the issue is the appearance of impropriety in most instances. You know, you don't want to give the appearance that the commissioners or other decision-making officials are there in their official capacity, thus lending any type of credence to any concerns that might be expressed and such. So, you know, in all honesty, my preference would be that only staff would attend that meeting and collect the information and come back and provide it to the planning commission and to the commissioners. But, you know, technically it's a public meeting. So as long as if anybody's there and decides to make a comment, they make sure that it's done and stated that it's in their personal capacity and not as an elected or a representative official, then that's fine. But again, it's just the way it might appear, especially I don't know any of the parameters of this gathering, whether the developer has been invited to come and present as to the program and stuff. And that's what gives me pause for concern, is that if they haven't been invited, if it's not public, if they don't have the opportunity to present their side, essentially, if it doesn't get approved, at the end of the day, there is the risk that they'll allege some sort of due process violation if especially the commissioners were there and participated in any of that. So happy to answer any questions y'all have, but otherwise I think the commissioners are well aware of that and how I feel.
Thank you.
I think we'll go ahead and move on to new business. It's file 23-7, the Olson Backcountry Site Plan. I'm gonna launch into the opening statement. Okay, the Lake County Planning Commission will now conduct a public hearing. The statement I am reading shall be incorporated into and made a part of the record on these proceedings. The Planning Commission has jurisdiction to conduct a public hearing on a backcountry site plan review under sections 3.13 of the Lake County Land Development Code. The purpose of this hearing is to consider whether the proposed amendment shall be approved, or the opposed file. In considering that matter, the commission will address approval criteria set forth in section 3.13.3 of the Lake County Land Development Code. The procedure to be followed in this hearing will be as follows. Members of the commission will disclose any ex parte communications. The county staff will make an initial presentation. Then the applicant may then make their own presentation. After that, any other persons either supporting or opposing the application may present evidence. Supporting and opposing witnesses may be questioned by the commission. Once questioning is concluded, no further questioning is permitted unless granted by the chair. And then finally, the applicant may then present any rebuttal evidence. The parties and witnesses are asked not to submit redundant, irrelevant, or cumulative evidence. If someone has already made the point that you wish to make, simply say so. The chair will also require that all comments be made to the Planning Commission and that there be no dialogue between the applicant and the members of the audience. At the conclusion of the evidentiary portion of the hearing, the chair will entertain a motion to close the evidentiary portion of the hearing, and the commission will discuss and weigh the evidence. Then there will be a motion to close the discussion phase of the joint public hearing. The chair of the Planning Commission will entertain a motion on the application, and the motion may take the form of one of the following recommendations: either approve the application with no conditions, approve the application with recommended conditions, approve the application with newly identified conditions, or deny the application. The planning director shall make a record of any substantial discussion on the motion and include that in the record with the decision of the commission. Are there any objections to the jurisdiction of the commission or the form or substance of these proceedings? Okay, hearing none, I'll ask each planning commission member if they had any ex parte communications to disclose, and if so, please disclose it now. Howard Tritz?
None.
Joey Edwards?
None.
And then Abby Dahlman, none. We'll go ahead and turn it over to Ann.
It's actually going to be Bryce.
Hi, thanks commissioners. Thanks for meeting with me this afternoon. I apologize, I'm not there in person. This is a pre-planned vacation and we successfully made it to Arizona with no air conditioning in our car. So
Oh my God.
to past Santa Fe. So we had a really early morning to get into Phoenix today. Let's just say that. And we're going to try to solve that. But yeah, so just happy to present this, but I think the best way to go about this is I want to let the applicant kind of present what he brought into us. What Ann and I really appreciate is this applicant came with a really well-prepared application, really well considered, and you know, pretty fleshed out already. The applicant was part of the backcountry zoning discussions and listened to a lot of work sessions, and so he had a really good idea of what the intent of the backcountry zoning was, and also just how to meet that intent with his plan structure. So I think it's a really cool idea. But if we want to let him kind of present some of the higher level points, and then I'll follow up on basically what the review process was like, and kind of the feedback we received, and explain some of the conditions of approvals that staff is recommending today. So yeah, Henning, if you want to take over.
All right, hello everyone. My name is Henning Olsen. I'm
And
here.
you're welcome to kind of.
Okay, song and dance.
Yeah, lucky you, right? Is
Yeah,
that what
lucky
that
me.
is?
Yeah, so I'm here representing myself and my wife and our 2 kids. We figured 2 kids was maybe not great in a public hearing, but just as Bryce said, I kind of just want to go through some of the high level stuff. Everything that's in here is already in our site plan document, but just a bit more easier to talk about. So really how this came about is we wanted to, we are proposing to build a back under structure on our property intended for part-time recreational use for our family. When we first purchased this property, that was prior to the backcountry zoning, coming to life. We had planned to build a normal house, but once we kind of learned about the backcountry zoning and the intent of it and what it was trying to accomplish, we felt that resonated what we wanted to do. So we kind of held off until last spring, and then by the time it was all said and done, it was kind of late in the season started. So here we are, a year later. So we really like it because we like the backcountry. That's one of the draws of this property, is that it is a little bit more remote, and we do understand that it doesn't have public services and infrastructure, and that is something that is attractive to us. But we also understand that when you are in the backcountry, you need to protect the backcountry, because if you go and build in the backcountry, it's no longer the backcountry, right? Like you get big developments. So we understand the need to minimize the site disturbance, avoid environmentally sensitive areas and man-made or natural hazards. We also try to incorporate, this is the property is in the Granite Mining District, which was a mining district early on in the late 1800s and early 1900s. So we try to incorporate some of that history and what we try to do, and I'll show that later on. And we believe that the site development does not impact any of the adjacent land uses, which is public domain. So just as an overview, the property is at the very southern border of the county. This is 24 here. You see the Twin Lakes over there, Balltown's here. The property sits on the east side of the Arkansas. And if you go one more step there, it's about a 10-acre property, which has history of mining, which is evident by the old mining shafts that exist there. I'll talk about them a bit later. And in the very east part of the property is where we plan to build.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So as I mentioned, there is some mining that's been done on the property in the past. And as the backcountry zoning requires, is that we need to make sure there are no hazards on the property. And fortunately, a family member of ours has a mining background and pointed out that I could look at these brass caps. And then after talking with Jeff Graves, Director of Inactive Mine Reclamation Program at Colorado Division of Reclamation, Mining and Safety, he was able to look up these details in a database that showed that these 3 shafts that were in the property have been safeguarded in 1998. 2 of them were backfilled, and a bigger one was covered with concrete panels. So, and this is also located about 600 feet away from where we would plan to build the structure. Here's just an overview of the topography of the property. This is showing sort of that the elevation is between 9,300 and 9,500 feet. It's gently sloping, and in the eastern part of the property where we plan to build, it's about 5-degree slope, which is relatively gentle sloping, and there are no streams, water bodies, or wetland on the property. There are adjacent roads. There's a road, an established road that crosses through part of the property right here, and that also provides access into a wider network of roads. So basically, to get to this, is you have to go down to Chet County, cross the river in Granite, and then come up north along the river. We do also understand that we're not counting on the county to plow this road in the wintertime. That is fully understood, and that it access by skis or snowshoes in the winter months, and we understand that. Adjacent land use and zoning. So this property and all the other nearby private properties on the east side of the Arkansas River are all in the backcountry zoning district. Lake County Comprehensive Plan future land use plan, designate the property and the surrounding properties as rural and remote. And we looked at that when we kind of put together our site plan and kind of some of the unique attributes of the rural and remote part of the county. The property borders BLM land on all 4 sides. Now to the fun part, I guess. So the proposed site improvement, as I said, is in the eastern or northeastern part of the property, where we would propose to build a backcountry structure in the corner there. There will be some excavation, but with the layout, we try to minimize the site disturbances. So access from the road, which can be seen here in the lower right, a primitive driveway to parking area, which is about 100 feet away from the backcountry structure. So there would be some very, very minor grading here, and clearing up some sagebrush. And then the structure would be some cut and fill to level the ground under there. Once again, quite minor. And then we talked with David Wilson at Lake County Public Health, and also a number of professional engineering firms on the septic systems. No issues have been identified about the site plan or the setup there, which is preliminary 42x9 effluent field and a 1,000 gallon poly tank. We also confirmed that the septic construction and septic pumping is able to get to the property. And there was 1 or 2 septic pumping company that confirmed that they would be able to get there. Another aspect is because it is a bit more remote, it might be more difficult for emergency vehicles to get to the property in case of an emergency. So we looked at the Lake County Wildfire Protection Plan as guidance, how we laid it out, and also have this these kind of 3 zones for a home ignition zone or something like that, where in each zone you have different recommendations. This is all further outlined in the site plan application. But in zone 1 is basically all vegetation is removed. In zone 2 is basically dead trees and things like that are removed. And then in zone 3 is just you can look it up. But basically the purpose of this is just to prevent that. So if twofold. One, if there is a wildfire, that the backcountry structure does not catch on fire. But you could argue probably more important that if there is a fire in the backcountry structure, that it does not spread to the. So in the backcountry structure, we are proposing to utilize fire-resistant and fireproof materials and best practices wherever possible to kind of prevent that. So the proposed structure is a 2-bedroom backcountry structure with a 598 square foot floor area. As I mentioned early on, we wanted it to kind of blend into the area and the history of the area with the proportions of early mining camps and early mining cabins. Factoring in some more modern things like efficient insulation and south-facing windows, which would allow us to capture some passive solar heating during the shoulder months, spring and fall. Muted green siding and dark corrugated metal roof kind of helped it blend into the surroundings. And with the location in the northeast corner of the property, it's blocked by trees, so it effectively makes it impossible to see the structure from most of the valley floor. I know that there's, maintaining the public view shed is important, and I can understand that when you look out, you don't want to see a, monstrous whatever. So this was, trying to make sure that it kind of blends in well there. And then the last piece here is just, the next slide is just the elevation drawings, which shows that it sort of fits within the all the dimensions that are laid out in the backcountry zoning or backcountry structure. So this is, a quick overview of what we're proposing to do. And there's obviously a bit more detail in the application set. Thank you.
Thank you, Henning. Yeah, so you can see that was all information that Henning had kind of prepared before he even came in for the pre-app. So we were working with really detailed information and really fleshed out. He did read the code and addressed each of the elements. What I can say about my review is I have visited this site in person. The applicant is well aware of the access issues that would be, inherent here. You have to cross the bridge in granite. There's not current maintenance. The roads aren't plowed. The BLM doesn't plan on doing any maintenance and improving of the roads anytime soon. But none of those are barriers to actually constructing the structure, but they would affect winter access. You know, the DRMS data is great to have, right? I've seen it in site, in person, and I know it's well safeguarded. Plus, we have the DRMS confirmation. DRMS confirmation or contact, as far as a referral agency, would be standard and is standard in any backcountry application. All the elements presented by Henning are required elements of the backcountry application for a structure. You know, the mining data, the topography and terrain, the vegetation, tree mitigation or wildfire mitigation plans, OWTS plans. I really appreciate that the applicant was able to kind of confirm the viability of their on-site wastewater treatment center or system before actually going through with planning on that in any particular. So they have confirmed that, you know, any septic services installation are viable at the site, even though it is a little tricky to access. So that's really good. And yeah, it's in line with the comp plan, right? This is an area that was identified specifically to be part of the backcountry zoning. And this is a use that's in line. It's very low impact. I think what you can see from the 10-acre property or the applicant's site plan is that even a 10-acre mining claim gives ample opportunity to easily and far exceed any setbacks we've set for the backcountry zoning. So, you know, this site plan is really cool because it's minimized impacts both physically, and really appreciate that it's strove to minimize all view impacts as well. This was referred out to a few agencies, including Lake County and Leadville Fire and Rescue, Office of Emergency Management, Public Works, Division of Parks and Wildlife, Forest Service. BLM was really important because this is an in-holding completely surrounded by BLM land, Public and Environmental Health, and the Lake County Sheriff. We received feedback from a few of those agencies. Leadville Lake County Fire and Rescue did review it, and they are requiring the following, which is why we're requesting them as conditions of approval. But you know, these are very standard things. Owners shall adhere to a fire mitigation plan, which the applicant did furnish in a lot of detail with their application. Local smoke detectors shall be installed in all bedrooms and common areas. All detectors are to be serviced and maintained each season. Carbon monoxide detectors shall be installed 15 feet from any fuel burning appliance. Portable fire extinguishers shall be installed at fuel burning appliances and by the exit doors. Those were the 4 requirements that the fire department is requesting. They also recommended that they establish an evacuation zone, a clearing of an area free of vegetation for occupants to escape to in case of fire or wildfire. And I think given just the general vegetation in this part of the county, that's easily achievable. Install a medical kit, you know, for trauma and bleeds, glow sticks, signal mirror, emergency blanket, slings, cold packs, tourniquet, as an example. And 3 emergency food/water and batteries for flashlights. I think those are all really good recommendations, and it sounds like Henning's the kind of person that would be, you know, well considered of those things before the fire department recommended them. Emergency management did a thorough review on this, which I appreciate, and they don't have any outstanding concerns, and they appreciated that a lot of the concerns they would have were already addressed by the applicant. And BLM, who I was most concerned about getting feedback from, they have not indicated any concerns, and they're fine with the current access. One agency that we didn't receive feedback from that I would like to hear from as far as recommendations is Colorado Parks and Wildlife. And so I just have, that is a recommended condition of approval from staff, is that we would receive some sort of recommendation from CPW for ways to mitigate wildlife impacts from this development. I put in the staff report, but an observation I had is that most of these review agencies actually seem surprised to receive referral feedback requests for a private structure, what is essentially a seasonal home for a private user. But I think that's good. That was a intention that we had with the backcountry zoning, is that we would be more collaborative and communicative with public lands agencies especially, but you know, that this becomes a standard process and is normalized. And so they are expecting to hear kind of updates on development in the backcountry areas that affect them or just have impacts. So if you look at the kind of recommended conditions of approval, a lot of them are pretty standard. You know, number one is the backcountry structure will require a permit. So here he goes through that backcountry structure license program that we passed concurrently with the backcountry zoning. That Ann or myself will receive confirmation from CPW, like I was referring to, acknowledging that they have reviewed the site plan and addressed any further concerns, or at least made us aware of them. The driveway plan needs to be reviewed by Public Works because they're the experts in that aspect. Just some more like referring to the code, and that, you know, as we go through this entire process beyond tonight, as we go through the issuing of the license and the construction and the inspection of the structure, that we're always following along with that backcountry zoning code. And here's those number 6 is on the proposed conditions of approval, that the owner shall adhere to those 4 recommended requirements from the fire department. All exterior lighting, which the applicant is proposing some exterior lighting, will be dark sky compliant. And there is a standard kind of specification that International Dark Sky Alliance has for lighting, so you can easily see if it's approved and dark sky compliant. And then the last condition would be that, you know, all statements and representations made by the applicant are considered conditions of approval. So that we're holding him to his word. But you know, pretty straightforward thing. I just wanted to bring this to your attention because it was really thorough, but this is the thoroughness that any backcountry application will be held to. And we're just lucky that the first one we got, this is the first actual one from scratch, not just bringing a pre-existing structure into compliance. We're lucky that this one is so well thought out and thorough. So yeah, I'll open it up to Henning or myself if you have any questions.
I always get a little confused just around the on-site wastewater. So is public health a referral agency, or are they part of the?
They are a referral agency, and that on-site wastewater treatment system is a part of the approval of any backcountry structure. So if they didn't have that kind of finalized tonight, they will have to have that finalized before the license to build the structure is issued. There's the option to go through getting a full on-site wastewater treatment system, which would require a well, running water, and a full septic system with a leach field, or they could apply for a variance for a different kind of either vault toilet or pit privy or something like that. But the applicant has indicated that they'd like to go through with the full on-site wastewater treatment center system.
Okay, so that always, like, so that permit then comes after this approval is given. Okay. Thank you.
I had a question about the access. You show the access up and around and some of the aerial imagery. Is it a BLM trail or road that just comes like directly right when the county line, where the county line is? That's kind of, looks like a straighter shot to the property. Is that?
Oh, to the right there, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was washed away in a flood 2014, maybe 2012. So the road is washed away. It's can't remember the name of the creek that comes down there. So it's not passable at the moment, and it's in Chaffee County. So I don't think that time to fix it.
Got it.
But yeah, that would be closer.
Okay.
I had a question about the access also. Does the access to your cabin, does it go beyond your cabin?
The road, you mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it passes through the property and continues west.
Yeah. Does it, I'm trying to get, again, my mind location. There's a stream that comes down. Does it go beyond that stream? I've been on that road years ago.
So this is kind of up above the streams and up, above the river.
Okay, yeah, above the Arkansas, but
Right, yeah, the stream is kind of down.
Yeah.
I think that was the road that she was referring to, that's been washed away, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So Howard,
Howard, are you
here's,
familiar with the Bell of Granite site? It's near the
Yeah,
Bell
yeah.
of Granite site.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's in the
So I
application?
know where it's at there.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I saw
And
this side view one, I don't know, 10 years ago, when I was up there. I saw, only time I've ever seen in Leadville, in the area, 5 turkeys across the stream, yeah. And I know what a turkey looks like, I've seen it.
I believe you.
You're not gonna close that road, of course.
No, that's the light. And that, as outlined in the background rezoning, that the intention is not to close road, because it promotes access to public land around the property.
It's a good thing to bring up, though.
Yeah, and that was an important part I wanted to hear back from BLM, is make them aware of it and see if they had any concerns. But yeah, Low Pass Gulch washed away. That's Low Pass Gulch, the creek that it crosses, and County Road 27 no longer has connectivity. And there's an kind of an unofficial road that climbs the hill pretty quickly right there. But we couldn't rely on that road to establish access, right? It's not an inventoried part of any system. So the applicant did prove that there's access in existing inventories.
I know there's, I'm glad to see the CPW inclusion. I know there's wildlife closures that go fairly late. I think it's like June 30th up there, if I'm remembering correctly. I mean, I know it's your private, it's just it's one of those funny administrative things, like you should, you have ability to go to your private property at any time, but
How does that?
yeah, but how does that work with a seasonal wildlife closure?
There are roads in the area that are closed seasonally. But as far as we are aware, these are not those roads. There's one, up closer to the Two-Bit Gulch that's
Yeah.
closed seasonally for hunter, for elk habitat, but none of these were indicated to be closed. But that is something we'd like to hear back from CPW directly.
Yeah, I believe it's further north along the river,
Okay.
because when you kind of turn right and go inland, so to say, if you go north that road, I think that's where they have the closures, from my understanding. So. But there's no signs indicating
In the,
closure as you drive up.
okay.
I had a question on the view shed. I appreciated your comment about like largely being, setback and not thinking on that view shed. Sorry if I missed it, is it like entirely like concealed, like from the roadway or the valley floor?
So most of the valley floor, there you could potentially see a little bit through some trees down to, 82, right? Between Twin Lakes, as a straight kind of, as you drive east, you could, like, if you had eagle eyes, you could see it, like,
Yeah.
but it's not gonna, since it's green, I think it's not gonna stand out. The only place you would potentially see it a bit more is, kind of on the west side of the highway. There's kind of the plain there with the dirt road that leads up to, I can't remember the name, I'm sorry.
Bee Hill.
The Lost Canyon area, yeah.
Yeah, and that, like, it's just a straight dirt road, like, you can see that straight there. So that would be a section of road where you can see through. And that's the only road, let's say, that you could see.
Yeah. No, there's no way you could be entirely concealed, like from
No,
the
because,
other
right.
side of the valley.
Well, and exactly. So and it's also by design for us, right? Like, as I said early on, we want to be in the backcountry, see the backcountry. We want to see civilization, put it that way, right? So it goes both ways.
It's about 3/4 of a mile as the crow flies, like from the highway to the
Yeah.
site of the house.
Yeah.
It looks like, so,
And the highway is down in the, you can't even see it from the highway anymore,
right.
because it's down in the gorge there almost.
Just a comment, I appreciate all your thoughtfulness on the fire mitigation. The property itself is not highly dense, forested, densely forested. Any, it just seems clear that your awareness of any, risks is really great, and I wouldn't expect any, further like removal. They're so sparse on there, but your plan and as, the land grows with your family enjoying it, acknowledgement and awareness of all of that.
One question for you, the fire mitigation, once again, you're setting back hard against your property lines there. So how far into the BLM land will the fire mitigation go?
Yeah, so as that map showed, there is part of, I think, zone 3 and a little part of zone 2, which would be outside of the property where I guess technically I wouldn't be able to do anything, right? I can, but that's sort of zone 3, which is, zone 1 and 2 are more important, like the 30-way you get from the property
sure.
thing. So, yeah, I mean, and to be honest, when you're up there, there's sagebrushes every, 3-4 feet and it's dirt between them, so it's not.
So it's still sparse even in your building lot, even though that's the tree part of the lot?
It is, yeah, for sure, and the spacing between the trees is, on average, like 30, 40 feet, I think, so they're pretty, so that's why I don't wanna take down any more trees, let's say.
That makes sense,
Yeah.
very good, thank you.
And they're not growing very fast up there either, so you kinda.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Just far back in that corner, so taking out 3 or 4 trees that are outside of the property line, and that would be about it.
Yeah, so there's one tree that's
It's right on.
right on it, and that would be the one which, following the fire mitigation, that would be like a candidate, let's say, for removal, but.
Okay,
So.
no, that answers the question, thank you.
I don't have any other questions, anything else, no?
All right, so this is the point where I would.
Oh, well, actually, we could open public portion, input portion
Oh,
of
yes.
the meeting. Okay, we do want to hear that.
Okay, so yeah, we'll go ahead and open it up for any public comment. See a few folks joining virtually.
Raise your hands, maybe.
Yep, if you'd like to raise your hands if you have any public comment, please feel free to do so. Otherwise, we'll go ahead and on, I guess. Go ahead and close it back up. All right, we'll go ahead and close public hearing.
No, you guys can stay, because if you want to hear the resolution and what they decide, because this is planning commission approval and not board approval for backcountry site plans are approved by the board or by the planning commission. So if you guys want to stay and hear their deliberations, you can, because the decision won't be brought to you. They make the decision, so. Okay. You're welcome to stay.
Sweet, now we get kicked out.
Yeah, you're welcome to stay.
I'm actually invited to stay.
You're welcome to stay.
You had your chance.
Oh, man. Yeah.
To the secret portion of the meeting.
Why am I sitting up here then?
All right. Okay, so we'll go ahead and open up for deliberation.
I don't really have a whole lot to say, other than it's nice to see a plan that's so well laid out. Like, you don't be really worried about some of the backcountry, what we might get in hold of, but Jens, this is our first, isn't it?
Yeah, really our first one, we had Todd Horning, but that was really, something that the code was able to come in and take a non-compliant structure and bring it into compliance, but this is really the first application. And I also, I guess, all our hard work that staff did and the planning commission, everyone, I think that we were able to bring a code forward that checks all the boxes, and then an applicant can actually follow. So I think as Bryce and I looked at Henning's application, we were just really encouraged that, hey, I think the code's working. And hopefully we've been able to bring something forward that checked all the boxes and all the concerns that we heard through the creation of it. So hopefully it was somewhat user-friendly. and straightforward. And so we're really excited to feel like maybe we've brought forth an effective code, of course, with everybody else's hard work included. But we're hoping that it's a code that's working well and continues hopefully to serve the intent that it was designed to serve. So
Yeah, I think it's great. I'm excited to see a use like this and so, yeah, so thoughtfully planned out. So thank you for doing that. And
I think that Bryce has furnished a couple different suggested motions. If you wanted to move into a motion, I think there's a couple in the staff report.
You wanna make a
Well,
motion?
I don't know if I got it all, I'm not sure. Let's see. I've got all the pages.
It'll go onto the second page. There you go.
You're gonna. I'm gonna use yours. I thought I missed a page and I printed those.
No problem.
Yeah, I'll make the motion for conditional approval. I move the planning commission approve file number 23-07 Olson BZZ site plan review with the following conditions. Number one, the backcountry structure will require a permit subject to the Lake County Land Development Code, LDC, section 5.2.27.2, parentheses 8-H, parentheses. The community, number two, the community planning and development CBD director or deputy director shall receive confirmation from CPW acknowledging the site plan review and any further concerns that shall be vetted prior to the backcountry structure permit. Any concerns shall be addressed administratively with the applicant and CBPT. Three, the driveway plan shall be reviewed by Lake County Public Works, LCPW, prior to the issuance of the backcountry structure permit. Number four, the applicant shall demonstrate compliance with backcountry site plan review submittal requirements, section 5.2.25.1, parentheses B, parentheses A-M, during the backcountry structure permit. Application process. To the highest extent possible, the property owner shall limit the degree of site disturbance during construction. An excavation and grading plan shall be submitted with the backcountry structure permit application. Number five, the Olson backcountry structure shall abide by LDC use specific standards 5.2.6. Number six, for the Leadville/Lake County Fire Rescue LLCFR, the owner shall, A, parentheses, adhere to the fire mitigation plan, B, parentheses, local smoke detectors shall be installed in all bedrooms and common areas, C, parentheses, carbon monoxide detectors shall be placed within 15 feet of fuel burning appliances, and D, all detectors shall be serviced and maintained each season, and E, fire extinguishers shall be installed at fuel burning appliances and by the exit doors. Number seven, all exterior lighting must be dark sky compliant. Number eight, all statements and representations made by the applicant through the applicant and hearing shall be binding and considered as conditions of approval. And further finding, the approval's criteria pursuant Lake County Land Development Codes, section 5.2.2.7.1, parentheses D, parentheses, have been met as evidenced in the staff report dated April 10th, 2023, for file number 23-07 07.
Edward seconds.
Well,
Aye.
Aye. Howard? Aye.
Aye.
Cool. Alright. Thank you.
Thank you, planning commission.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Henning.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for such a good application.
Looks like we have some old business, file 23-4, Linda's Land LLC Outfitter and Guide CUP.
And I'll let
Yeah.
Bryce give an update on that as well.
Just want to give a quick update on this one. This file was tabled from March 27th, where it was originally noticed to be heard. But after sending this in, and it was kind of at the same time we were in the review process for the Carner Land special events facility, CDOT requested a traffic study. And so we're still waiting to hear back on that traffic study. And once we get that, CDOT will have to review it and come back with the recommendations. So given that, I'd like to request that we table this file about a month to the May 8th Planning Commission meeting, please.
I can go ahead and
Make a motion,
Okay.
or ask for a motion.
Yep, I'll go ahead and ask for a motion to table 23-4 to May 8th.
I'll make a motion that we table file 23-4 to the May 8th meeting.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Yes. And then I'll take a motion to adjourn.
Make the motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Awesome.
It's painless.
Yeah. it was easy.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Bryce.
Thanks for
Bryce.
bearing with me.
Thank you for doing a good job.
No, thank you.
Yeah.